Hello, and welcome to Repertory Screenings, Episode 6. I'm your host, Em, and with me are my regular co-host, Jackson.
Hello.
And Destiny.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about movies. It feels like it's been, 3 months, and it's been 2 weeks because I've been sick this entire 2-week period.
We've missed, one podcast, and it wasn't one of these, but it's thrown us all the way off.
I just feel like I've been adrift in, a void forever. And it's only been a week and a half, really, that I've been super debilitatingly sick. I'm mostly getting fine now, but it does feel like I haven't even thought about movies in 1,000 years.
Just completely off the planet.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. It was very disorienting.
Don't be sick. It's my advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
We don't really talk about movies much here, aside from the ones that we're covering. Jackson, did you want to talk about anything you've seen recently?
Yeah, sure. I rewatched all the Bourne movies.
Oh, Chems.
Chems!
The Bourne movie nobody remembers. Yeah, no, it's really bad. They tried to give that to Jeremy Renner so much, and they just whiffed it. And then Mission Impossible also tried to give it to Jeremy Renner, whiffed that too.
The fact that Simon Pegg outlives Jeremy Renner is very funny to me, because he's also terrible, but in a much more palatable way for movie studios, I guess. He just shows up
but at least Simon Pegg still has charisma. Jeremy Renner is the most fucking nothing human on in the planet. I'd rather have, Sam Worthington show up than Jeremy Renner.
But before we get to fucking where the chems, I want the original 3 Bourne movies, specifically the first one, is really good. My friend rewatched them and was talking about them. So it's I'll put them on. Why not? They're going to be fun to watch while eating dinner. And I really like them. I think that first movie
which is the one with Carl Urban in it?
That's the second one.
That's the one I liked the most.
That is a valid take. I think the first one's better, but they're all pretty good. The main 3 are all pretty good.
There's a 4th Matt Damon one, right?
Yes, I haven't seen that one yet because I can't watch 5 movies in a week between everything else.
No, I don't blame you. I'm amazed you watched 4, to be perfectly honest.
I really just meant to watch the one, but then I had to keep going through the first 3 because they're very watchable. And then I was like, well, I can't stop.
You have to watch the chems.
I have to remember how the chems are. And the answer is they're terrible.
Nobody remembers this. This is only a meme because of film Twitter at the moment this movie came out. It's so stupid.
He needs his blues and his greens, and even in this conversation that I tried talking about the original movies, we've mostly joked about chems.
The thing is, it could be a Crank style meme of him just going around yelling about chems. The movie is not actually that, unfortunately.
Okay, so apparently I'm just not going to talk about the good movies, but there are 2 incredible movies that the Jeremy Renner one could be. One of them is him yelling about the chems.
That's Crank 2, but Bourne.
The other one is a Bourne movie that's just the CIA scenes, everyone going, fuck, the whole thing got leaked. It should be amazing. That should be a slam dunk. And they fucked up on both accounts.
I don't even remember the CIA stuff in Bourne 4.
Ed Norton's pretty good, but it's not doesn't go anywhere because it's basically the first 2 acts of a movie, then it stops.
Oh, right.
But
Modern
Ed Norton
films.
Ed Norton's trying very hard to be very good in that movie, but he can't do it alone.
He's no Joan Allen.
He's no Joan Allen. Ed Norton's no Joan Allen. These are the takes you come here for. The thing that I will say is that in the first movie, that surprised me that the character work is just good. There's a romance in that movie and it works. In an action movie that everyone saw, amazing. Incredible things, incredible scenes. I don't
remember this at all, so...
Would never happen today.
Yeah.
I had a good time. Anyone else watch any movies, or have you been too sick?
I've been too sick.
Well, we watched a movie that you're going to talk about on another podcast.
Yes.
And then I watched, just Thursday night, the latest Ari Aster film, Midsommar, which was very, very good.
Would you like to talk about it?
Sure. It's about these, this handful of grad students. One of them, the tragedy-stricken girlfriend of a really, really shitty guy, go to Sweden because one of them has this like village that does this ritual every 90 years, and this is the first time they're doing it, or it's a festival, not a ritual. And so they all go to the village to see it, and gruesome things happen, and it's a pretty entertaining film, really, really colorful. It just felt like one of those movies that you could like see, smell, taste, and touch. Like it was just really pretty. Like Sweden looked really beautiful, even though it's a terrifying setting, because it's this village of people with like strange pre-Christian practices that, like, if you know anything about like even folk magic from any country, it's not that weird. Like lots of runes and people putting their body parts in food to like seduce somebody, and bodily fluids in food, like that kind of stuff. If you know anything about that, it's not that weird, but it definitely, obviously, since it's a horror film, it goes to extremes past that. And I don't know, I really liked it.
I also showed you a movie that you watched right after we recorded last time that you loved.
Oh, we haven't talked about it?
No.
We watched Yojimbo.
Yeah.
I love Yojimbo.
I also watched Yojimbo. Because you watched Yojimbo and were like, yo, Yojimbo! And I was like, yeah,
It's
okay, I'll join you
so
in this
good.
land.
Was it your first time seeing it
Yes.
too?
Yes, it's
Oh.
so good.
I can't believe I ever thought Quentin Tarantino was original. I mean, like, I know that's like his thing, is combining these retro pastiches and making them all modern. But like, this movie is so cool, and like the kind of cool it displays is so ahead of its time. Oh, I love it so much.
Also just Cowboy Bebop. Every character in there is from Cowboy Bebop.
Every single one, 100%.
Oh, well, with that all taken care of, because I sure didn't watch any movies other than, I guess, Yojimbo, which I'd seen before. It's very good. We should get into our movie this week. Every time I almost say month.
You can just say week.
Yeah.
No one will mind.
This time, we watched Mikey and Nicky, which is a 1976 film written and directed by Elaine May, starring Peter Falk and John Cassavetes. It is about one very long, bad night with two gangsters, mob middlemen. Nicky, who's John Cassavetes, calls up Mikey for help, who's Peter Falk, because he's in trouble and he thinks he has a contract out on him to get murdered, and they are old friends from childhood. And they decide, and Mikey's like, okay, I'll help you out. I'll get you out of town, get you set up. And then there's questions of whether or not Mikey is in on getting him killed or wants to get him killed. And they have a lot of conflict about their friendship that is deteriorated over the last 30 years. And that's the movie. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I had not seen this. I'd never even heard of it until it hit Criterion, and then people were tweeting about how good it was. And so I was like, you know what, let's take a chance. I want to watch all the Elaine May movies at some point in my life. And so might as well start here. So that is why I picked this, mostly out of a hat. And I guess I'll go first. I thought this movie was absolutely incredible.
It's phenomenal!
Yeah.
In a movie that is like, you know, like a postmodern gangster film, but way before you think of, you know, Goodfellas doing that, it is just exceptionally well written and acted the hell out of, and part of that is Elaine May's ridiculous shooting schedule and plan for this movie. The one production note Wikipedia has is she just burned through film. Like, she shot more film for this than was shot for Gone with the Wind, because she just left the cameras rolling for hours just to watch the actors interact or leave the set, come on the set, try to catch things that are unintended.
Well,
Ridiculous.
sorry to interrupt, but she and
No, go ahead.
Cassavetes were like method actors and had trained with that sort of like, you know, the reality is between the relationships of the characters and not the story. you make your own story as an actor to bring to the screen. So she wanted as much footage of Falk and Cassavetes as she could get.
Yep.
There's a funny story where, like, she left the film rolling after they had left, and someone yelled cut, and she got mad at them because they weren't the director. And they're like, well, the actors are gone. And she's like, well, the cameras are on in case they come back.
Which raises a lot of questions to me as to where they could have gone, how the set was set up. Like, is there a part where they could be on the set but come back to the set? I don't know. Anyway, movie's amazing.
Yes.
It basically ends up functioning as... I mean, this obviously came first, but it's just like the before movies, but for gangsters, I guess.
I would not have thought of it that way.
It is, though.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
It's exactly what it is. And it's just a long conversation between these two guys, and the way it goes into, like, their relationship and the tensions that have been playing on both of them for just their entire lives is really good. You get such a strong sense of the, like, both the quiet and loud ways that masculinity just ruins people. These people are just awful. They're awful to everyone else and to themselves, and the movie doesn't, like, have an answer for when they got broken, right? Like, it's not one of those, but it does just, like, look at this, like, very pathetic friendship and tries to ask, what's going on here? What's up with this?
It's also about just sort of like when you have that friend that you're always bailing out and always saving, like, what is that relationship? Like, the way that Falk is so gentle with him when he, like, first gets to the hotel at the very beginning, and then when you find out later, like, oh, this is all a setup, and it seems so, but all the tenderness in the first half of the film is so real that you just have a hard time reconciling the two faces that he's kind of showing Cassavetes. Faces. Cassavetes. Get it? No? Cassavetes made a film called Faces. All right.
I got it. It was funny.
Movie joke on the movie podcast.
I'm still over here reeling because I've been saying Cassavetes in my head this entire time.
Really?
Yeah, no one said it out loud in front of me.
There's a song by La Tigra called "What's Your Take on Cassavetes?" So every time I hear his name, I think or see him, I think of that song, and the chorus is just "What's your take on Cassavetes?" So it's just this song has been in my head for 2 days straight.
For me, it's that tenderness is interesting in that I think it is genuine. It's very easy to be tender when your, like, longtime friend, you know he's going to get shot in 45 minutes, and then that doesn't happen, and you have to sit with the asshole for another 6 hours, just getting more and more fed up with his bullshit as you're reminded how much he sucks.
Yeah, because he comes in and basically, the start of the movie, he thinks he's just doing an Of Mice of Men situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just going to be give his friend the best sending off he can. It's just the way of the world, and his friend just will not cooperate. Nicky is on one.
So, like,
yes.
is it? Oh, sorry. I was just gonna ask. Is it because he knows he knows, or do you think?
I think on some level he kind of knows that this is all, like, a bad, because he always talks about, like, it's stuff in here I need to get out. Like, he has, like, this sense that there's something wrong. But I don't think he, like, consciously knows. He just has the devil's own luck, which is why Mikey hates him, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's just a man who has, like, fucked everything up but fallen upwards in doing so. And Mikey is, like, consistent but in, like, a really annoying, dogged way that nobody likes. And so of course the two just resent each other because their differences are, like, so in conflict with each other, but it's gotten them both, like, to go upwards in life in this horrible situation.
And then Mikey like turns on the nuclear power and is like, "It's gonna be fine because I'm Homer Simpson." This is what I think of whenever this kind of relationship shows up.
It is a very Frank Grimes, Homer
Frank
Simpson
Grimes
relationship, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the T.
Yeah.
Even one of them dies.
Sure does. Drink the channel, Marge. The way the scenes like progress and the slow revealing of the information about like what's going on in the night is so good. Like the first, I think like you get 20 minutes of that first section of the hotel or so. Maybe it's not 20, but it could be anywhere from between like 10 minutes to half an hour. Like time kind of disappears during these exhausting scenes.
You get so much information too early on about these two men and their situation in a way that I found really impressive.
Yeah, and it's really good. And like the when they started bringing the like cutaways to the hitman into the movie, I was at first like, I don't know about this, because you know it had been such a like basically a two-hand play for so long. You're like, oh, is it gonna keep the same energy up? But then it immediately starts like playing with that as there's this incredible sequence where it's just both of them like little. Mikey looks at the phone because he's using the phone to secretly communicate with the hitman, and Nikki's like noticing him looking at the phone and like trying to work out what he's doing, and he can't tell if he's just being paranoid or if he's actually been, you know, if he's being set up or what. And then just the tension in those scenes is so good because like Mikey doesn't hate Nicky because he's gonna get killed, right? Mikey hates Nicky because he's known him all his life and he loves him as well. Like that's the relationship exists separate to the circumstances of this specific murder.
Oh yeah, like one of the I think most revealing scenes about Mikey is near the very end where he is alone with his wife and he knows Nicky's gonna show up and they've been up all night. His wife, because they have a child, a 5-year-old named Harold, which is the most 70s thing that ever happened to anyone. And she's been kind of waiting up for him. And then he's been out, Nicky's been sending him essentially just like in every part of the city the whole night. And they're talking and he just starts asking her questions about people from his childhood. Like, did I ever tell you about my brother Izzy who died when I was 10? Or he was 10, I think. And I was a kid. And he starts like things that Nicky knew intimately about him. He's like talking to his wife about them for the first time. I thought that was really interesting.
I really like that scene because it's like both him like revealing the intimacy he has with Nicky and not with other people, but also the way he's telling these stories. It's not the same. Like Nicky kind of knows what the deal is with all those situations, and then he's telling his wife he can't like bring himself to admit how bad he feels about all these circumstances when he was a kid, how much resentment he has towards even his dead brother. And it's just very sad as you see like the way that this guy has been completely unable to let go of any kind of pain that has just come with being a kind of not cool guy, right? Like he's not the big masculine person who's going to just be an arsehole and fuck up and fall his way to the top, but he's still a shitty dude and he internalizes that in all the worst ways. And the scene where that kind of comes out with his wife is just it's a lot. It's very good.
Also, just the women in this film.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Just mountains of bullshit put upon every single woman in this film. Yeah. I guess there's only, 3 or 4 of them?
3.
There's the 2 wives, the mother-in-law.
Yes, the mother-in-law. I forgot about her.
There's the baby, the little baby, who gets a, little scene. But, I think that interaction is worth mentioning. He thinks he's gonna be this, father, he's just entitled to this relationship with this kid, even though he lives this lifestyle and he's obviously like a terrible person and terrible. Like the relationship, it's not even his wife, it's his ex-wife. Like she's left him, she's moved in with her mom, with the kid, and he just doesn't seem to grasp the enormity of his mistakes.
But I think the like biggest interaction is with Nellie, who's played by
yes.
Grace.
Sorry, I like totally didn't mean to skip over her. She's the most important. This is the only movie she ever did.
What the fuck?
Apparently she's the inspiration for Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. At this point, she was Walter Matthau's wife. So she's just in these scenes. She's not I don't think she's like a professional actor in that way. Like not a film actor.
She's really good.
She did not do any other films. It's very amazing how good she is in this. Oh, and she's essentially this woman that Nicky kind of keeps on the side, and he's spread all these awful rumors about her, and like, I think as Nathan Raven put it, like she gets treated badly for putting out to everyone and then punished when she doesn't put out, and it's just the worst.
My assumption is that she just likes him. Like she's not like he has to assume because she likes him and he is like, because all these men are self-loathing, that she must be like a sex worker, right? Like to him, that's the only reason that she would ever be interested in him. He's got a wife, whatever. When he is just the guy who can charm anyone because he's like that and doesn't know how to not be that, can goad anyone into anything against their better judgment. So she likes him and hates that, and then he like sublimates that into thinking, oh, she just must be like this with everyone, but she's not. Like that's not who the character is, right? Like she's just accidentally fallen for this bad guy.
I think she also, I think it's heavily implied that like she is smarter than people think she is. Like there's just a lot of like, I feel like she's had to deal with just like, I mean, I guess it's everyone in this movie, but like the perception of her as like, well, I'm pretty, I can't be smart, but I am smart, and she's like trying to prove it, but then like at the same time her like intellect is undermined by her feelings, you know? Like if she really was smart, maybe like she wouldn't put up with guys like him. Like that's the kind of vibe that I feel like she was giving off. Like obviously she's still smart, like who she sleeps with does not determine her intelligence. What I'm saying is I think there's a self-loathing streak in her as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like she's interested in this guy. These characters should not ever exist in the same orbit, like universe at all. Like, right? Because like Nicky just sucks. He's like a shitty con man guy. He's The Wire season 2, and she's just like a normal person who has like managed to get in with this rough crowd and knows that they are a rough crowd and probably enjoys that on some level, but also is like totally repelled by it. And when like the reality of it, like when it's just Nicky, it's easy to put up with and be like, oh, he's just like that. He's a character. And I kind of find that appealing. But the minute someone else shows up within that, it's intolerable, right? Like the ways in which he interfaces with her through like how he talks to other men, horrify and repulse her, because they're fucking gross, because he's a gross person, but it's easy to be charmed by a gross person in a vacuum, right? Like that's Nicky's whole deal.
Yeah, like Nicky's whole deal is he's like being a different person to every person he meets, but not in like an intentional, like he's just floating between it and acting in his self-interest in what he wants with the person who's in front of him at all times, right? Because then after that scene, you have the incredible, I think that entire like scene in her apartment is like the standout scene of the film. Because for one, it's just incredibly shot. Like they have the red light in the back room, they turn all the lights off in the apartment, and it's just showing off. And two, like the ways in which like the scene contrasts Nicky's like shittiness as he's kind of like forcing himself on this girl, but she's like still kind of likes him and is like, it's just like being a very messy scene, and then it like brings Mikey into that where he's like, oh, she's just a sex worker, you know, this is fine, this is what you do, this is how it works, and then she's just not having that, bites him, and I'm fairly sure they both, I know Nikki slaps her later, but I think they both like attack her in this scene, but in just very different ways, and the ways in which this like shows a portrait of two very different, fragile kinds of like masculine interaction, and the violence that is like beneath the surface on both of them is really interesting to me, because I feel like the time, I don't remember exactly, so if I'm wrong, but my reaction to this on first watch was that none of the like violence from the men was unprovoked, right? Like it was always in response to something that the woman in the scene did, but to like remind them that violence is like there if they want to exert their agency. Like that's exactly what fucking Mikey does in that scene, is that she bites him and then he responds by slapping her, and it's just like really jarring and a reminder of the like violence that could just be enacted at any moment on any woman.
It's a very surprising moment, or at least it was for me, in the character of Mikey, because like when he first sits down, I couldn't tell, and I don't know, maybe it's like a generational thing, I could not tell that he was trying to seduce her. I thought he was just trying to like deflect and change the subject because he saw that she was clearly uncomfortable. So I was surprised when he starts touching her and it's clear that he's like trying to get on with her, and I was surprised that it went as far as it did, because I thought he would be like, I thought he was gonna be you know, polite, and I didn't, that actually surprised me. Did it surprise both of you?
I mean, I think that's kind of like
her?
That's kind of like the point of the movie to me on like a broader scale, where like at the beginning, Mikey comes in and he's super sweet to Nikki. He's like, okay, I'm going to take care of you, get you cleaned up. You got an ulcer, I'm going to go get some cream. Goes down to like the diner and cajoles the guy into selling him cream. And then the minute the guy goes to actually do what he wants, like snaps like 30 seconds after the conflict was resolved and like leaps over the counter and goes to strangle the guy. And like, that's just who Mikey is. Like he has like, this movie is about like the characters that are like the charming mobster that you kind of like, even though you know they're bad guys in other movies, but just stretched out long enough to see that no, these people are violent and awful and brutish in every aspect of their life and are miserable, and there's nothing fun here. Like you get to have moments where you're like enjoying the ridiculousness of their situation and laughing at them as they like stumble through a cemetery in the middle of the night, and like they're like Mikey's apologizing to every grave he steps past. You're like, oh, he's just a funny character, but no, he's a violent person. He does awful things, and to bring you to that point where you have to reckon with the kind of character that is like like a charming archetype in every other version of this movie, but brought into like the light of day through this very long night, is good. It's the point of the movie to me.
Yes,
it's that Tony Soprano thing where it's like you get lulled into this false sense of security with, oh, well, he's actually a teddy bear, and then you forget, oh, he's a psychopath.
Yeah. And with Mikey, I think a lot of it is because he thinks of himself as the guy who's the reasonable one. Like, he's going to be nice and he's going to be calm and he's going to talk to you like a normal person because he hangs around Nikki, who's just like a raving madman half the time, right? And so he gets to get away with stuff because he's that person. But the minute anyone puts up any defense to his, like, you know, mumbly nice guy act, he just snaps and attacks them the same as Nikki would.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that seems like, because that scene follows into the scene in the street, right? Where Mikey is furious and views this as like an intentional act of posturing and superiority from Nikki, and that's the thing that like breaks, that like actually breaks their friendship.
Yeah.
Whereas Nikki obviously hasn't done that intentionally because he doesn't work on that level. He's not. No one's after Mikey. Mikey's just terrified about that at all times, always. But Nikki's just like that.
Yeah, the fact that, like, you think they're, like, the way that the plot is kind of laid out, like, you think, oh, he's gonna take him to the airport, and then whatever is gonna happen, and it turns into, we're going to all these different places around the city, the Black Nightclub, the 24-hour movie theater. It almost seems like this isn't the first time Nicky's led Mikey around town like this on a weird night.
Mm-hmm. I also really just like mentioning the way that they all just go around to these places. The cutaways to the hitman constantly being a little late, waiting at the movie theater forever. It's hilarious. This movie's really funny. Like, we've had a big theme conversation talk, but it's really good and funny.
Yeah, the hitman is played by Ned Beatty, who just is, like, he shows up like he's, like, from another era than these men. Like, these men are, like, realistic, rugged, kind of grimy 70s men, and Ned Beatty shows up like he's, like, from a 60s crime movie, right? Like, he's he's more put together, he's more reserved, but he's also, like, artificial and, like, sweaty in a way that's really uncomfortable, and then proceeds to just get, like, clowned on for the entire film because he did not realize the kind of film that he was walking into and the kind of trouble he'd be putting up with. Like, it opens with him very calmly writing down the directions in, like, the most, like, procedural, like, 70s thriller way. Like, yes, I'll be there and then have 45 minutes and then you come out and I'll get it done, as he writes down the address to this bar. And then he proceeds to go the wrong direction and ask, like, a newspaper stand guy where he's at, and the guy's like, oh no, you want South 36th Street, you need to go north to get there. Just like the most obtuse, like, I'm from out of town directions. In that scene I turned to Dusty, I'm like, you know, this would never have happened to Brother Mouzone, who is, like, this archetype of cool.
Yeah, the fact that he's not cool at all is really great. Like, he spends the whole movie complaining about how much everything costs. Yes. And it's like, you're a hitman! It's like, this isn't making money for you! Don't be a hitman!
All of his conversations are about, like, gas and the expenses of the job and having to deal with these children, basically.
It's really funny. For context, Ned Beatty had just done Network. And in that movie, his character is big. He even, I think, got an Oscar nomination. And so, like, they tried to, like, just make this character the most stripped down, plain talking, not at all flashy acting kind of character in contrast to that. Because it was, like, within I think those roles are only, like, a year apart.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, yeah, he's really great in this, to say that, like, his character is just kind of whining the whole film.
The scene that's the culmination of that is, like, Mikey and him, they've gone to the boss guy, and they're basically explaining why Nicky's not dead by having what can only be described as the world's longest post-apprentice briefing. As they're like, well, if you see if he would arrive at the thing on time, then he would have done this, and the other one tries to shift the blame this, and then there's a really long conversation about, like, they're like, we're gonna stake out your house, he's gonna come for you, then Mikey, then we'll wait outside your house, and then we'll get him there. And then Mikey is like, well, you can't do that because there's no parking. And then he's like, what do you mean there's no parking? And then he's like, well, there's patrol cars, so you can't park there. And there's like, well, we'll go around the block. And I was like, well, we'll notice. Well, we'll go around 2 blocks. We'll still notice, you idiot. Like, it's amazing. And it goes so far, and, like, especially coming after all the character work in the movie, just the levels that these pathetic, like, mobsters will go to just argue these minutiae, where it's really just, like, posturing about power, right? Like, that's what all these scenes are. Is very good.
Yeah, I like that the mob boss is Sanford Meisner, who was the Meisner technique acting teacher. It's a really weird role for a guy like that.
I was just looking up Ned Beatty, and this is also a year after his turn in All the President's Men, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was wondering if
actually, same year. So
this was a banner year for Beatty.
I did watch this and was like, I just need to watch 70s movies all the time.
yes, no, same. Because I at the beginning of this, I was like, if every movie just looked like this still, I would go to the movies every week.
Every fucking week.
There is something to be said about New York in the 70s that I will just never recover from. It's what?
It's Philadelphia.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry, I did this when watching Rocky.
Oh, okay. Well, either way.
Is it really? For some reason, I also thought it was New York City. So
no, this is Philadelphia. It was on the Wikipedia page.
Okay.
Wow.
Good. That's very funny.
But me, being in the UK, every time I see someone like walk underneath dark train tracks, I'm like, oh, New York.
Yep.
70s.
Yep.
I get you. But no, I've seen a lot of movies that are that, but just, a different East Coast city.
Yep. I did want to talk a little bit about Mikey's wife, who is a weird character that we keep coming back to, who just seems to like be kind of spacily complicit in his lifestyle.
She's so weird to me. Like, the first time you see her, she's on the phone with him, and she's like, should I put Harry to bed? And it's like midnight. And she doesn't know if she should put her kid to bed. I don't know why
and then she asks her kid, who's like 5, to bring her a crayon and then a book to write on to take down the notes that are notes that she's going to turn around and give to the hitman. Like,
yep.
She's part of his plan where he says, oh, I'm going to call my wife. And then he actually calls his wife instead of calling the hitman. But then she gets the call from the hitman to deliver the information, which is just like one step more convoluted than it needs to be, because Mikey insists on being honest when he says he's calling his wife, because that's the kind of asshole he is.
He doesn't treat his wife the way Nicky treats his wife, is what he says to him.
But also she doesn't even know him. Like, she has no idea who he is, other than she guess she knows he's a gangster. But
the scenes at the end with them just like they're very like long shots. The movie has a lot of what's the I'm forgetting all my technical terminology, but a lot of the movie is like fairly close on both Mikey and Nicky, right? And then he comes home and there's a lot of like wide shots of them kind of trapped in their weird suburban environments as they try to have a conversation about anything, and it's the most awkward stilted thing that's ever happened. That leads into his like confessions about his insecurities and everything, and then ultimately like ends with them barricading the door with their own sofa as Mikey gets shot on their doorstep, which is just a really good image of what all this is. Because Mikey's like, he's never gonna let him in, but he will whisper, "You should run." What's he like, "Run, you klutz," or something. He will whisper that to himself as his friend gets shot. That's the like limits of empathy that remain at the end of this movie, while he's holding the door shut himself. It's a really good ending.
All this great movie, and Elaine May, only directed one more movie after this?
That's because it's Ishtar, and I've heard that it's good, but I remember it being a punching bag when I was a child. Like, it was Hollywood in-joke.
Yeah, this movie Mikey and Nicky kind of gave her this reputation for being difficult, which is hilarious considering all she was trying to do was preserve her artistic integrity. And because she was a woman, it was like, oh, I guess you won't direct a movie until the 80s, because Paramount and her got into it about just the her raising the budget by filming so much and all this stuff. And then like her and her husband at the time like smuggled some of the negatives so that Paramount couldn't, because I guess with her film before this, they had like essentially released it in a cut that they like usurped her to make, and she was trying to prevent that from happening again. And it ruined her career.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen her other movies, but I definitely will now.
I only know her through comedy because she and Mike Nichols had that legendary improv group, Nichols and May, and they like famously, quit when they were like the hottest in town, and then didn't work again until The Birdcage, I think. Maybe. I don't remember.
Do you have any more like broad thoughts, or do we want to go to the questions? Because I know we've got a few questions.
I think I've talked about everything I have. This movie's fantastic. If you have the means, it's on Criterion Network, at least for now. I don't think it's like in the collections. So, oh no, it is. It totally is. You put up the image of the cover, so yes. Should just be there long term. If you ever get a free weekend or free trial, 2-week trial or something of Criterion Collection, check this out. It's very good.
Oh, it's so good. It is so, so good. By the way, I have not watched enough Columbo. It is time to watch Columbo.
It's time to watch Columbo.
It's so good.
The worst thing is now I'm just going to think that Columbo is like an extremely menacing figure.
Yes. Yeah, there's a scene where he goes into the black bar, and they start to like get into a skirmish with like a few guys, because essentially Mickey's just being an asshole in the club, and everybody's like, don't touch them, they're cops, and I was like, is that a Columbo joke? Like
I mean, they look extremely like cops.
Yeah,
they do look like cops. Cop jackets.
Oh, Columbo.
I've never seen an episode of Columbo.
It was on forever. Ever.
My only Columbo reference is that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer pretends to be Columbo.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. Peter Falk carries it. So if you liked him in this, watch Columbo. There's like 1 billion movies and episodes.
Ran till 2003? What?
Well, off and on. Like, it officially ended in, like, 1990, but it was on since the 70s then, and then they did a bunch of films.
But this is a British show. It's been on for 40 years, but there's only, like, 69 episodes in over 10 seasons. And there's a bunch of specials. This is the British show. This is what the BBC does.
I also didn't realize that it was 69 episodes. I assumed it would be like 400.
Me too.
I thought it was the Murder, She Wrote, where there's like literally hundreds of episodes.
It ran from 69 to 2003, but only 69 episodes in that time.
Because I think of Murder, She Wrote and Columbo as like kind of the same thing. Just kind of like unassuming detectives. But Murder, She Wrote is 264 episodes.
Woo!
I found a little bit of an internet renaissance these days.
Yes.
Yeah. I found a fun fact about this movie. Okay, so editing entered its second year. Paramount sought to take the film away from May. She's purported to have taken 2 reels of the original camera negative, thus preserving her control over the project. Houseman, I think that's her husband at the time, recalls a visit by police officers looking for the material during this period. Asked if he knew where Mikey and Nicky lived, he pointed to his cats.
Good.
It's good.
It's very funny. Oh, it was the producer. I'm sorry, not her husband.
Are we ready for questions then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Should I load them up? Should we trade off?
Yeah, sure. You can go first.
Well, I hadn't loaded them up, but I have now, I think.
If you have questions, you can send them to podcast@abnormalmapping.com. You can ask about anything, not just what we're watching. We like questions about all sorts of stuff. And we definitely put up the call for questions extremely late this time, so we've got questions about all sorts of stuff.
We like that. We like having questions about random stuff.
Yes.
So we first have a question from Sniper7 from the Discord. It's an email, but that's where we know you from. Hello. Thank you for the question. Which first asks, what is your favourite Shakespeare play, considering you talked about Throne of Blood recently?
Mine's Henry V.
Titus Andronicus.
Mine's Othello.
Why?
Because I read it in...
That's the most condescending question I've ever heard.
No, I was
Be nice to
asking
Jackson.
both of you. I am so sorry. I did not mean it like that. I like
Why?
Othello's good. I like it.
Because Em said, that's the most condescending question I've ever heard. And then you said, I was asking both of you.
I was genuinely curious why those. I like Titus Andronicus because it's essentially just a grindhouse movie.
Yes.
Go on. Why do you like Othello? And I didn't mean it in a bad way. I like that play a lot.
Very funny.
I'm sorry.
That's good. It's good. I read it in school, and it was the one that convinced me that Shakespeare was like actually good because I realized it was just every television show, right? Like just all the Iago stuff of this shitbag joking to camera, basically. It was the thing that made me realize that Shakespeare is just still very good. After having some very bad experiences being taught Romeo and Juliet, which I kind of like it these days, but I definitely had a bad time at school with it. Whereas the only things I really remember about it are Bite My Thumb,
Yeah.
the classics of going to school and learning Shakespeare means a lot of people joking about Bite My Thumb, which is honestly a more earnest engagement with Romeo and Juliet than my teachers were giving. Because it is funny. It's a joke when he says Bite My Thumb.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That whole play is jokes. There's so many jokes in Romeo and Juliet, and one of the shocking moments for me was reading it in high school, thinking that I knew it, and then reading it again in college and realizing they took out all the dick jokes when I read it in high school.
Wait, they took out all the dick jokes from your copy?
Yeah, whatever version we were reading must have been in one of those readers, which was just a compilation of texts that they would make. Every grade had one, and I'm pretty sure ours was heavily abridged and edited like crazy. But yeah, they took all the dick jokes from the very beginning of Romeo and Juliet out.
And the secondary question is, what is a setting, unconventional setting for Shakespeare that you would like? I don't know if we have any answers for this. I didn't really think about this much myself, other than to say that I was in one once as a theater project in school that was what was it? What is the Shakespeare tale of? What is it? What's the Shakespeare play with the twins of the two genders being confused?
Is it Much Ado? No, it's not Much Ado About Nothing. It's the
12th Night. I have no idea.
Twelfth Night.
Yes. That's it. I was in that, but I was it was in a music hall thing in the 1800s or something. It wasn't good, but that's what I did in my teen years.
I think it'd be funny. Oh, go on.
No, you go ahead. Mine's kind of a dumb answer.
Oh, mine is also dumb. I was gonna say it'd be funny if it was just regular ass office workers with texting each other and stuff like that. I just think it'd be funny to see a lot of how the internet would affect a lot of this. I don't know.
I mean, I would also like if Joss Whedon made more Shakespeare adaptations with his friends over weekends, because it's much better than any of his other work.
Were there internet references in that?
No, but it was just set in the modern day, but using the same script, and I thought that movie was really good. So
I loved it. Yeah, no, I just wish there was one that kind of played with technology in the vein of I haven't seen any, I guess, and so I'd like to seek them out. So if you know any, shoot me a tweet. And I just in the vein of the Ethan Hawke Hamlet in a blockbuster, but as modern as possible.
I just want to see Shakespeare performed in the original Klingon.
You've really been sitting on that for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Look, it's okay.
My actual answer is if I could get the 90s Star Trek team to just shoot Klingons doing Shakespeare, a whole ass play, no joke other than we just did it, that would be amazing.
Would it be in Klingon, or would it just be Klingons doing Shakespeare?
I don't really care. I think it would be more extra to do it in Klingon, but I think they should just do it in English like the show does. So.
God, that would rule. That rules.
Yes.
But no one could do it now because it'd be a joke.
Yeah, it'd be too knowing.
The other thing I found out about this movie is that one of the taglines was, Mikey and Nicky, don't expect to like them.
Well, I don't, so it's success.
That's amazing.
Good job.
So we have some questions from Tron. The first one: if you could live in New York City during the 1970s, would you? Even if just for a small amount of time. My answer is extremely yes. In fact, I don't think I'd want to go back. I think it's a ridiculous, cool time to live in.
Like, will I be having any fun? No, but I love these movies so much. I don't care.
I think the fantasy is better than the reality. Having visited New York City once in 2009.
Yeah, but that was like post-cleanup New York City, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like, even then, it was so busy and alive and overwhelming. Even then. And I can't even imagine just like this pre-Giuliani, like it just doesn't, it seems so surreal.
I don't understand what New York is if you can't tweet about it.
I mean, but these movies, right? Like, speaking of, okay, this is in Philadelphia, but one of the best scenes with like average ass townspeople interacting with Nikki was he goes into this candy store. And the guy, like, he asks the guy for ice cream. He's like, we don't have ice cream. And he pulls out his gun and makes sure he can seize the gun. And he's like, everything we have is what you see.
Because he's done this before. He knows what's up. He's still opening at fucking 2 a.m. for his candy store. He does not put up
with shit. Like, who's buying candy at 2 a.m.?
Nikki.
Tron also asks, what do you think of mobster movies in general? I feel like I am mostly over them. I've seen every Scorsese film. I'm tired.
I haven't seen that many, but it's not a genre I'm like super into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I've never seen The Godfather or anything. I haven't seen The Sopranos, which I know is a TV show, but it's one that everyone sees.
The Sopranos is one of my favorite television shows of all time, but not because it's a mob show, but because I just like characters, and it's not a genre that I'm like drawn to on the face of it, but obviously watching that show, like the whole thing is a commentary on those movies, and I can't say I was well versed in them before I came to The Sopranos, but The Sopranos is the only mob thing I truly, deeply love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I've seen Goodfellas, but I wasn't really that into it.
No, it's bad.
I don't think it's bad.
No,
I actually really like it.
It's just I feel like it's very oversold across a certain type of like early film person, right?
Well, like one of the things that changed my perspective on it was in like the last 10 or 15 years, they started showing it on Lifetime a lot. And like
that's appropriate.
If you don't know, it's called Television for Women, and it was like female geared programming, mostly like true crime and stories about domestic violence, and the fact that they just put Goodfellas on the regular movie rotation kind of made me appreciate it more.
It's more honest about Goodfellas than anything that you talk to Goodfellas fans.
Yeah, agreed. So I like the idea of women just getting into this movie because it was on Lifetime.
And then next question, did the beer cans in the first bar look cool to you? Which I think is interesting because Destiny is a beer drinker, Jackson's a milk drinker, I imbibe both, but not together, which is what Mikey and Nicky were doing in the most horrifying...
It upset me.
Isn't that as disgusting as I think it is?
Yes, absolutely. It's so nasty.
I already have this weird association of like milk being put into drinks as a 70s staple in my mind. Anybody who like lived through the 70s, just email me or whatever and tell me that I'm wrong.
No one who lived through the 70s listens to this.
I know, right? But like, Laverne and Shirley, the Gary Marshall television show. Laverne's like staple signature drink was milk and Pepsi. So they're already like linked in my mind, and I didn't even comprehend that you could just have milk with beer like that. And as a lactose intolerant person, that's like the last thing I want to see when I'm drinking beer is a fucking glass of milk. Oh, that was upsetting.
Okay, Tron also asked some non-specific to this movie questions. What are your thoughts on Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and are you excited for Rise of Skywalker?
I thought Last Jedi didn't go far enough, so yeah. So I'm not excited for Last Skywalker now. Rise of Skywalker.
I thought The Last Jedi was basically the best thing you could ever expect out of Star Wars. I don't think you could make a movie that is more critical of itself under the auspices of what big budget movies are. It's a real shame they just immediately gave it back to J.J. Abrams to fuck up. I thought the trailer for Rise of Skywalker was legitimately depressing to watch. So
it was so funny because I watched Last Jedi day one, so I came out of it going, man, this really sacrificed all of its ability to be subversive and interesting for the sake of being really nakedly fan pleasing. And then the next two years happened,
yes,
which really owned me.
I am indifferent to Star Wars. I liked The Last Jedi just fine. I'm curious about The Last Skywalker, or whatever the frick it's called.
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
There's too many, similar movie titles. I'm like,
Yes.
The Rise of the Tomb Raider, what? Okay, there's just too, all these things sound so similar. They don't, there's no original movie titles. It's very obnoxious. But yeah, no, I don't really care. I'll probably get dragged to it because I'm curious, but it's not. Sorry?
I said, do you think you're gonna go? You're gonna have to go, right?
My M's brother really, really wants to see it and doesn't want to go alone, so I'll probably end up seeing it with him. And then, as far as my Star Wars opinions go, Rogue One was the best Star Wars movie, and if you're not gonna make a bunch of movies like that, I'm not gonna be there.
I'm yelled at for that opinion daily, but it's true.
I mean, it's most
Revenge of the
smart
Sith, the
people
best
I
Star
know.
Wars.
That's the other acceptable choice to me.
I did not like that movie.
Well, then you're my
and then Tron's last question was thoughts about Godzilla, original Godzilla.
I love it.
It's good.
It owns. It's real good.
Oxygen
real smart.
Destroyer.
Real
People should watch Godzilla.
I wanted my oxygen destroyer to be used for good, not evil.
Jackson, do you want to read Autumn's questions? We're running out of time. We have a hard out.
We did have a hard out. Autumn, we hadn't read this out of time. Autumn has written in and asked us, when was the last time you got mad about the Oscars? But Oscars is spelt with an apostrophe. Is that how it actually is? I thought that was an online quirk, but now I'm like, wait, is it actually...
I don't actually know. I don't think so.
Anyway,
I don't think so.
About a decade ago, I don't care.
The last time I really, really cared about the Oscars was probably 2013, 2012, or yeah, somewhere around there. But I'm sure I'm mad about something related to the Oscars every year, even if I don't pay too much attention.
I'm sad that they've stopped doing those Oscar ballot articles. They were always good fun for that.
Do they not do those anymore?
They didn't do them this year.
Oh, what won the Oscars this year? I don't even know.
Was it Green Book? Did
Green Book.
Win?
Green Book.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good. Great.
It's so funny because nobody seems to remember. Everyone talks about Bohemian Rhapsody. This is the second podcast I've come across where somebody's like, what won? I don't even remember.
And we have another question from Autumn that isn't joking about the Oscars. It is, what are some movies you love now that you absolutely did not get the first time you saw them? I'll go first with a very obvious answer, 2001.
Oh, hey, you know what? That's definitely one of them for me.
Mine's The Shining.
The Kubrick.
I didn't
really
Death
hated
to
The Shining.
Smoochie. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say I didn't like Death to Smoochie until I saw it the second time.
Huh. It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Oh,
Brother, where art thou?
You didn't like Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou first time?
Not the first time I saw it, no. I know, it's weird, right?
This is intolerable. I can't.
I mean, I like it now. Like I said, it took me a second viewing to really appreciate it. I don't think I understood what they were going for, and it just didn't
We
hold
thought
my
it was a
interest.
frog.
Damn, we're in a tight spot.
We're in a tight spot. I got one that I've done this and then reversed on. which is the Spielberg movie Lincoln.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I remember liking that a lot. I probably wouldn't like it if I revisited it.
And then we have one last email from Nora. What is the first movie you watched in a theater on your own?
Who wants to go first?
Mine is Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Fuck yeah, it was. Of course it was.
Yes.
Of course it was.
Yep. It's also the movie I've seen most in a theater at 7 times.
Mine
It's
is
amazing.
Yeah, it's really good.
Speaking of mob movies, the first movie I ever saw on my own, there was a communication error between me and a friend, and I ended up watching this movie alone. It was 2001's Corky Romano, starring Chris Kattan.
Oh my god.
Whew.
Peter Falk is in it.
Okay.
Well, it must be good.
He's good in it, we'll say that much.
Mine is the first Hunger Games movie, because I'm a child.
Yep.
Yeah. I was a grown-ass woman when those came out.
I think I was 18 when that came out.
Yeah, I would have been 16 when Fellowship of the Ring came out, so.
Yeah, same area.
Yeah.
But no,
Destiny was also around 15, 16 when Corky Romano came out, so that works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went to it and realized, I can just go to the cinema whenever I want. I don't have to badger people or go with friends I hate.
I actually don't like going to movies alone.
Me either.
Lots of people like it because it's like, yeah, it just feels good. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Well, I don't have any friends, so I have to go on my own.
I'm your friend. I'd go to movies with you.
Unfortunately, you're too far away for that.
We could just watch movies together. That's something we could totally do.
It's true. We can also end this podcast because we got to do another one.
Let's do
Well,
it.
next time, what are we watching, Jackson?
Shit! Right, I chose this on like a whim. We are watching the movie Election from, I think it's 1999 or something. Alexander Payne movie.
Yes, not to be confused with the other movie Election.
I mean, I assume there's multiple movies with the name. What's the
I was
one?
the 2005 Johnny Cho action movie.
That's the one.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, well, sorry. There's another one.
Yeah, one of our hometown boys, Alexander Payne, representing.
Yep. It's a movie I watched a few years ago and really enjoyed, and I'm curious whether it will hold up. I don't know. It's been a few years, so I'm very interested, and I'd like to revisit it. And so I picked Election.
Weirdly, I've never seen it.
If you're in the UK, it's on Amazon Prime and Now TV, and also DVD and Blu-ray and everything. It is not too hard to find.
You can rent it here for $3.
Yeah. It's on like Vudu, but look, find movies the way you're gonna find movies. It's not on a readily available streaming service.
What is Tubi?
I don't know.
Okay,
also
just
where it is.
throw like $3 to a big corporation's way. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Please
Maybe you
torrent
can find
film.
the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
Next time.
Where can people find you online, Destiny?
At Frigibuzz now, pretty much everywhere.
Jackson.
I am at Headphones Off. You can find other podcasts we do at abnormalmapping.com. There's a bunch of them there. We do Abnormal Mapping, which is a video game podcast. We do a whole bunch of podcasts. You're doing a new one soon, but I don't think you're announcing it.
No, I'm not announcing it. If you want to listen to another movie podcast on our network, none of us are on it, but you can listen to Seasons. You go to abnormalmapping.com, look for Seasons. They're currently doing a thing on Miyazaki films. I have an upcoming podcast that is movie related. There'll be more about that at the end of August, early September. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
If you want to support the network, of course, all the podcasts help me, Jackson, Destiny live and eat. You can go to patreon.com/abnormalmapping, and for $1, you will get our Gundam podcast, which is me and Jackson talking Gundam and other anime every week. It's called The Great Gundam Project. It's very good. And you get to support us. Jackson's been doing movie writing at our $5 tier.
Yes.
I don't know if that's going to continue in perpetuity, but it is there. There's a lot of movie talk in there.
It's weekly for the next couple weeks at least. It's what I chose to do to make sure that I can get... Because I've got a Patreon down a backlog.
Me too.
But let me recommend movies, because you watch them, takes you 2 hours to make, maybe takes another 2 hours to write the letter, or half an hour if you're you.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at em_being. And of course, if you want to go to our Discord, you can find the link on the website, again, abnormalmapping.com, and hang out, talk about movies with us. It's good. I think that's everything. So
I think it is.
Until next time, watch a movie.
That's it. That's our tagline.
That's our outro. You're not going to like them.
Yeah, don't expect to like them. Don't expect to like them.
Don't expect to like them. We should absolutely take that one.